Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. He joins us every Tuesday here on Texas
TUESWAYS.
Football Today. He is the great Craig Way. Craig, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Tep. How are you and Pickle doing?
I mean, I'm fantastic. I'm doing great.
Couldn't be better.
Pickle's struggling, but that's neither here nor there. Craig, week 1 of the Texas High School football season is in the books. Stepp and I were talking about this yesterday on our podcast, that we felt that the week 1 overall, at least at the very top, was relatively chalky. I don't know that there was any real huge stunners. Maybe one here or there. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you feel like there were some surprises that you didn't necessarily see coming?
No, I'm in agreement with you. Like you said, at the top, I think pretty much top held the form. I think you had to move through it a little bit to perhaps see a wrinkle or two, an eyebrow raiser or two. Obviously the biggest one, I think, to us, and the big exception of the rule, was Richland Springs. But other than them, I think pretty much the rest of it held the form. I liked what I saw, not only in the 6-man levels, but all the way up to 6A. A lot of it pretty much held to according to Hoyle, as the old saying goes.
Well, let me push back on my own point here for one moment, because there's one, I think, exception in your neck of the woods, and that would be Liberty Hill. Liberty Hill loses their opener to Killeen Ellison 12-7. Now, we knew that this was a little bit of a rebuilding year. We knew that that they had to replace, I believe, 10 starters on that outstanding slot T offense for Coach Kent Walker's squad. How do you, and maybe this is a broader question, not necessarily about Liberty Hill, but we can use them as a springboard. How do you make sure you don't hit the panic button, or how do you make sure you don't hit the panic button too late for a team that struggles maybe in their opener or maybe their first couple of games?
Yeah, it's that thing about the urgency meter. Mm-hmm. Where does it register? 5, 6, 7, whatever. I think it's there. If it were not a season opener, then I might say that there might be more area of concern. I think going into the year, that we all kind of knew that Liberty Hill, regardless of the inspirational run they made, and within a fumble at the goal line of playing for a state championship, and Kent Walker, of course, taking over for his late brother Jeff, for all of those things that happen. Whenever there's a coaching change, there's going to be a period of adjustment, and so I think it did surprise some folks that they didn't get their offense cranked up the way that they normally would. I do expect them to bounce back this week against Del Valley, but we had our own in our building there at the radio station about the area teams, and going into the start of the season, they had in terms of 5As, who I thought were the best, and a couple of our guys in the building in our area, once you got to that division, we're talking not about Cedar Park, but getting into 5AD2, and then also talking about Liberty Hill. And I said I kind of like Leander Rouse better. I just thought with the abundance of starters they had, and a proven quarterback, and a coaching staff intact from the prior season, there were more sure things about Rouse that led me to pick them ahead of Liberty Hill in terms of that particular division and that particular classification over, say, the other way around. But I do think Liberty Hill will bounce back and they'll be okay.
So then let's take that same conversation and kind of flip it on its head and talk about a team that looked really, really good in their season opener. I look at a team or teams that looked really good. Let's talk like a team like College Station. I think we were all very impressed with what College Station did to Hutto last week. I think that we were all, for example, very impressed with some of the let's see, Beckville did to Joaquin, right? A few of these games.
Yep.
Carthage, a gutty win over Crosby. Does that work with the same intensity on the other side, where if you go out there and you look really good, that suddenly you start thinking, okay, things maybe we've misread and things may be better than we thought. Does it react the same way when it's in a positive way, or is it simply let's wait for more data regardless?
I think it does. Yeah, I think it depends on two or three things. Like we said, the individual elements of a team, if they had some changes, if they've had some injuries, if they had some COVID issues, is certainly part of that. How much of it's intact, whether they were playing at home or the road. And I still am a firm believer in this, Tep. There's that season opening factor until you get them on the field and under the lights. Sometimes you just don't know. I'll give you an example, and I'll pull out another one from the greater Austin area. Lake Travis, when you look at the final score of their game, they won 40-28 over Arlington Martin. And you'd say, oh, that's pretty impressive. Martin was state ranked. Lake Travis beats them by 12, and they put 40 on the board. I had Hank Carter on my show this morning, and he was just livid about a lot of things that his team did poorly, mainly in special teams. They gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown. They did a lot of things that very sloppily. But he added, that's a season opener. And we'll clean that. We'll clean that up. We'll fix that. And I think a lot of coaches across the state look at it that way, whether you won or lost. The first game's in the book, and that old coaching saw about, making your greatest improvements from week 1 to week 2. Now, there are some teams on watch because of that. And we mentioned Liberty Hill to see how they do. But I'll give you another one from the area, Cedar Park. I don't think folks expected Cedar Park to beat Vandegrift, who's going to be one of the better Area 6A teams down here. But to get beat by 35 points, I know surprised a lot of folks. And we'll see how Cedar Park does against a pretty good Round Rock Cedar Ridge team this week, stepping up in class again against another 6A. So there's a couple of examples, but I think you bring it up. And also like what you and the staff did with your rankings, you didn't punish too severely based on some of the things that happened in week 1, like Highland Park playing up in classification and getting trounced by South Lake Carroll. But, hey, you left them where they were. And there are a couple of teams that managed to stay in the top 10 or maybe not drop more than 1 or 2 because you do factor a season opener into it. I think it's more about perhaps rewarding the teams that pulled a surprise rather than punishing the ones who suffered a surprise.
Talking with Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. All right, Craig. Last Friday, you were in Grapevine for the Grapevine versus Colleyville Heritage Battle of the Red Rail. Colleyville Heritage, speaking of impressive, goes out there and gets a big win. Your overall takeaways from the game, your overall takeaways from the experience, from just being there in week 1.
Well, it was an electric environment, no doubt about it. And it had so many different themes on it other than the red rail. And then obviously at the top of the list, we think about Caleb Tejada, who lost his father yesterday or day before. And that's sad to see. And the inspiration that young man put back into his body after when he left the hospital to go back over to the field and suit up in the second half and rush for 105 yards on 9 carries. That was one theme for that. To hear Kirk Martin tell Sarah Merrifield on the sideline at the end of the first half, our offense was terrible. He was really upset with Al's offense. Then they were up 21-0 because of the turnovers, but their defense played well and turned around and played much more solidly in the second half. They're going to be good. And I know you feel the same way. They're really going to be good. And there was quite the environment there. Now, I will tell you, Tep, I was warned by some folks with the Grapevine Colleyville Independent School District. They said, we've had a history here in this game over the past several years of having a streaker. Now, I don't know if we'll have a streaker tonight, but it might happen. And I turned to him and I said, well, I hope he's wearing a mask. And left it at that. But it's, there was no streaker, by the way. So those were the impressions that I had coming out of that one.
And finally, Craig, I'm gonna reverse something that you do to me on your show, and I'm gonna give you 3 games in 3 different classifications, and I'm gonna make you pick one that you're gonna to go to teleport to, because I know you got to be up at the Bally Sports Southwest studios on Friday night for High School Scoreboard Live. I will give you a 5A matchup between Frisco, Lone Star, and Aledo. I will give you a 6A matchup between Austin Westlake and Euless Trinity. Or, and here's the wild card, I'll give you a 1A matchup between Sterling City and May. Which of those three are you teleporting to?
Okay, forced to pick from one of those three, I would go with Sterling City against May. But my answer is D. It's none of the above. It's Atascocita Allen, because I think we've got to see, as speaking of, by the way, season openers and making adjustments, as Chad Morris, we know he'll do with his group. But in getting ready for this really good Atascocita team, which bears a real threat to being able to snap that home winning streak for Allen, a regular season win streak for Allen, this is going to be really interesting to watch. So that's the one that's been on my mind this week. That said, Tep, as you know, because you compile the rankings, there's 4 top 10 head-to-head matchups in 6A. 4 of them. That one just happens to be the one that intrigues me the most.
It's a wild week, too, of Texas high school football, and, of course, he will have you covered there on the Horn in Austin, as well as on the Emmy Award-winning High School Scoreboard Live, coming up at 11 p.m. Friday on Bally Sports Southwest. He's Craig Way. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and I will talk to you Thursday on your program.
Hey, give you another 4A wild card. I like Cuero Wimberley. I think that could be an awful lot of fun.
So I'll tell you this. Stepp and I, on our podcast yesterday, he made the point. He goes, I think Cuero might be back. He made that point very loud and clear and said they might be back. And I'll tell you, this would certainly be a good marker for where the Gobblers are on the back scale. That is certainly for sure. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend. We'll talk soon.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye,
There
Craig.
he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Ball Hall of Famer, joins us every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today.
TUESWAYS. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.